Today we're going to be looking about rounding decimals. So sometimes decimals can be very long and we need to round them for everyday use. If you're at the grocery store, you might want to round up of one of your items just so you make sure you have enough money. So if you have a DVD and it's $17.97, you want to think about that's rounded to $18. So if you have $18, then you can afford to buy this DVD. The way we round decimals is similar to how we round the whole numbers. We look at the place to the right of the decimal we're rounding. If that number is 5 or larger, then we add 1 to that digit that we're rounding. If it's less than 5, then we leave that digit we're rounding in its place and we put zeros all to the right of it. So let's look at some examples. We're rounding 15.436 to the nearest hundredth. So where's the hundredths place? Tenth hundred. So 3 is in it. We look to the number to the right of it. 6. Is 6 larger than 5? Yes, so we are going to round up. So instead of a 3, it becomes a 4. So we have 15.44. And then it'd be zeros, but we do not need to put all those zeros at the end. Now we have the same number, but we're rounding to the nearest 10th place. So our 10th is right after the decimal. So our 4, we look right behind it. And that is a 3. 3 is smaller than 5, so we drop everything and just let it be the number and that digit in the tenths. So it's 15.4. We drop everything else. So let's look at some example problems. So we have 6.02 and we're rounding to the 10th place. So let's look at our 10th. That's our 0. Look right behind it. So the 2 is smaller, so we're going to round down and drop off everything else. Be 6.0. Then we have 6.651 and we're rounding to the nearest whole number. So here's our 6. We look behind it. And that 6 is larger than 5, so we round up to 7. Everything else changes to a 0, so since it's a decimal, we do not need the rest. Hundredth is our 0 right here. Look behind it. 2 tells us we're going to round down, so we get 0.20. And then leave off everything else. We're rounding 9.87 to the nearest whole number. Look at 9. Look behind it. 8 tells us we have to round up, so the 9 becomes a 10. 7.0760 to the nearest hundredth. 7 here is the hundredths place. Look behind it to the 6. We have to round up, so it becomes 7.08. Then everything else becomes a 0, but we just leave off the zeros. And then the last one, 3.629, rounding to the nearest tenth. So we have a 6 in our tenths place. Look behind it, we have a 2. 2 we round down, so we just leave it as 3.6. Everything else becomes 0, but we do not need those extra zeros on the end of numbers. That's how we are rounding decimals.